first piece. All right, so it's call and response, but not like it is in the recording. So it's like. Yep.
And then the first time we're singing it all together.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Every time.
Every time. Okay.
So you don't need to. Yep. And then
We repeat that again.
yeah, we repeat it, and then when we get to this part, it's and then this one, the emphasis is on the sha. So it's sha. Shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom. Yep.
Okay.
And if you can't remember that, just
I got it. Yeah.
and then we'll do that until they're all up there.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the Eve Duetia, and that's when it raises, and you can like experiment, like go wild.
Okay.
And then we go back to the beginning. You'll notice that same yours, and that's really, and then it ends with Yep, exactly. You got it.
Great.
Okay.
Cool. Oh, yes. It's good to see you. Oh my
How are you? I always see myself.
Squeeze it out.
Philo's just gonna pop into that. You want to switch here? Yeah. I'm usually the short one.
I started smiling.
Why does this feel so?
Something's not right.
Ready, guys.
Everyone say Tushy.
Tushy.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Victor.
Oh my gosh, look at that kippah. It's an epic kippah he's wearing.
Yeah, he made
Wow.
that himself.
It's amazing.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's a great photographer.
That's a really good question.
So it's nice to
There's
see
no
you.
longer an
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that I'm the one who...
No, I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you
Person.
are. And, like I'm still,
That's a question to think of.
holding out the possibility that we might actually see each other in Boston sometime.
You are in Somerville. Okay, so you're not
There's
too
a
far.
whole Jewish. I'm gonna go ask who's giving us go ahead to start.
It's in Summerall. Yeah, I mean, I've been a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's some cool stuff happening there.
Yeah, there's lots of.
Just the whole idea of it.
It's a great idea. It's a lot of good programming, and they just got on the best of for Boston 2023.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Something right.
Yeah, right. True. You're connected to the Kibbutz Center as well.
Yeah.
I remember. Friends who wanted to live there and then it didn't work out and they moved elsewhere.
Oh, okay.
I heard it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's a sweet place.
Yeah.
It's a sweet place. We'll eventually make our way up there, but for now we're in Summerall. Nice.
It is dead.
How's Canary going?
It's good. I mean, it was really overwhelming at first, coming into a new position and then needing to lead high holidays, which I had done as a member of the team, but I had never done just...
Cool though, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a lot. There was a lot of anxiety and overwhelm. Rami came in as my co-leader, which was great.
Amazing.
Really great.
Amazing.
And of course, it's not like it's been totally smooth sailing.
No,
Since then, there's been a lot going on.
The holidays were barely not quite over yet, and
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a lot of, I'm learning. Some stuff I feel like I feel a really good rhythm and naturalness with, and some stuff I'm like, this is like, I gotta learn this. Which I guess is right.
We're looking for
I mean, that makes sense, Megadol, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's questions about the community. You know, like how do I help this community grow
Yeah.
and renew?
It's a really big question.
Everyone is 65 and over.
It's a really big question.
You know.
Have they given you some of the history of some of the previous attempts?
Well, no, not exactly. I mean, I spoke to Hanati Ferret.
I'm gonna totally lose them.
They were there for a long
It's okay.
time.
Yeah.
But in terms of
I
like
just-
attempts to grow the community, not really.
Bad for the drums.
Yeah, we can. I'd love to fill. I don't have the whole picture by any means.
Yeah. No, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, there's a little chunk that I can give you that sort of that might give you a little bit more perspective. And,
Yeah,
you know, and
sure.
It's interesting. It's an interesting community.
Yeah, you know, it's like I get the sense. I'm sure this won't surprise you, but it's like, you know, I know that part of the reason they hired me is
Nobody
because
sits here.
I'm young, all things being relative, and you know they want me to bring in fresh energy and bring in new younger people, and I also have the sense of like they dig in their heels a lot. They're like, we're living in North Boston, and this is how we do things, and don't change us too much.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but we have to be like a little bit flexible here. You know, like you want to grow and you want to change, and yet there's so much fear of
Yes.
don't change us, but please change us, but don't change us.
Same old story.
Yeah. So you're right, and yeah, I guess this is how it is. But I've never worked as a pulpit rabbi before, so I've never encountered this, and it's it's like pick my battles, and how do I navigate?
Yeah.
Is a question.
And
And I'm
yeah.
wondering,
Hatzlacha. I mean, it's like no. I mean, it's not easy.
yeah.
Conversations broadcasting. Okay.
Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Everyone.
That's welcome.
They should have like some.
And you, where was your community?
In Somerville.
Okay. And you're no longer doing that.
All of a sudden feeling very aware of it. Yeah, we
I used to be in California.
Is there anything if I can ask?
COVID is the short answer. I'm happy to give you a longer answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That's you know. I hope we can sit, have a tea, and talk more sometime. Yeah.
And then I went to near Auburn.
I feel ready.
And then
Start.
Davis. And then I came back. But I was in California for like long time.
Are you from Mass originally?
Like so nice.
Venezuela.
Famous.
I'm from New
Lived
York.
in Michigan through my middle school and college years. Lived all over the country.
They call me, my English name is Cheryl, they call me Shay. את מי יש לה? ומי ילך לנו? 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 ואומר הנני שלכם היא צוות שלום, שלום ומנוחה, צוות שלום, שלום ומנוחה, צוות שלום, שלום ומנוחה, צוות שלום, שלום ומנוחה, ואימה עם המלאכים, בואי מלכה, בואי כלה, בואי מלכה, בואי כלה, בואי מלכה, בואי כלה, בואי מלכה, בואי כלה, שלום, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השלום, עבדו את יה בשמחה, 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 עבדו את יה יש לה? ומי ילך לנו? את מי יש לה? ומי ילך לנו? ואומר הנני שלכני
Welcome. Welcome. I want to first thank the processional music. That was an out-of-body experience. Shalom and welcome to everyone to this sacred and joyous ceremony. My name is Chuck Silverstein, and I'm the interim dean of the Aleph Ordination Program. First and foremost, welcome to the graduates. We're all gathered here to honor your ordination as you embark on your journey as ordained rabbis and rabbinic pastor. Welcome and hearty congratulations for your achievement. In preparation for this sacred ceremony, let's all take a deep breath and let it out slowly. And let's take another deep breath. And this time, as you let it out slowly, send loving thoughts and feelings from your heart to the heart of our graduates. And now one more breath, a third breath, and this time the graduates will reflect back from their hearts to all those assembled here today. Although this is a joyous occasion, our joy is diminished by the trauma and suffering occurring in Israel-Palestine. So let us send blessings of love and peace from our hearts to the hearts of all those in the Middle East. This ceremony of conferring ordination is called the Smicha ceremony. It is that unbroken chain of the transmission of authority in a lineage that stretches back for millennia. The word Smicha itself derives from a root that means to rely on. And so our graduates will truly be relied upon in their lives of service. We're about to embark on this Smicha journey in which 9 rabbis and 1 rabbinic pastor will be ordained in the lineage of the Jewish renewal movement started by Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi of blessed memory. Their commitment and passion have brought them to this moment, and we're all honored and privileged to be part of this sacred ceremony. Today, as we celebrate these ordinations, we also hold in our hearts Reb Marsha Prager, the founder and Dean Emeritus and Mashkiach Ruchani, which means Chief Inspirational Officer, and Hazan Jack Kessler, founder and director of the Cantorial Program, who, although they are not physically present with us, they are present watching us at home through the live streaming. So our hearts are with you, Reb Marsha and Hazan Jack. You know, it takes a conscious community to create the extraordinary ordination program based on the principles of spiritual renewal and growth. And so I'd like to welcome everyone who has brought us to this day. First, I'd like to welcome the family and friends of the ordinees who join us in celebrating this significant milestone. Your support has been invaluable, and your presence here today adds to the joyous atmosphere of this special occasion. And I know there are also friends and family at home watching through live stream, and we welcome them also. We welcome the school's faculty, the spiritual directors, members of the VAD, which is the Academic Council, and the directors of study, which is what we call our student advisors. You've all played a pivotal role in shaping the educational and spiritual journey of our students. Your dedication and expertise contribute immensely to the enriched environment of our institution. We welcome the current students of the Aleph Ordination program, who one day, hopefully soon, will be sitting here on the bima. We welcome the board of directors of Aleph, whose wisdom was shown when they selected me to be the interim dean. Your discerning choices and strategic vision have paved the way for positive growth, ensuring a bright future both for Aleph and the Aleph Ordination program. I want to provide a welcome to the interim Board of Governors who have worked tirelessly to create a lasting structure for the Aleph Ordination program. Your commitment and strategic efforts have laid a strong foundation for the program's continued success, and we're grateful to your invaluable contributions. Welcome to the alumni of the school, whose caring for their alma mater continues to inspire and strengthen the bond within our community. Welcome to all the clergy members of Ohala and the Rabbinic Pastor Association. Your presence enriches our gathering, and we're grateful for the collective wisdom and diverse perspectives you bring to our shared journey of spiritual exploration and growth. And a welcome to all the participants in the movement for spiritual renewal of Judaism. Your shared commitment and dedication to the ongoing journey of spiritual exploration and rejuvenation are the heart of our community, and we're honored to have you join us in this transformational endeavor. We're especially honored to welcome Rabbi Dan Siegel, who as a young man became the first person ordained by Reb Zalman in 1973, 50 years ago. For family and friends who may not be familiar with this movement for the spiritual renewal of Judaism, the movement combines an emphasis on spiritual transformation of both the personal and the collective, with the wisdom of Jewish mysticism enlivened by recognition of the divine feminine, seeing the entire universe as alive and sacred, and incorporating the latest in modern transformative psychologies. This is a contemporary Judaism that is joyous, creative, spiritually rich, socially progressive, earth-aware, and inclusive, welcoming LGBTQ, interfaith families, and Jews of color. And now I will turn the program over to our graduates.
We rise as the Aleph Ordination Program Smicha class of 5784. With infinite gratitude to Hashem, our teachers and mentors, our colleagues, both those who forged this path before us and those who are holding us as we made this transition today. And of course, our friends and family, without whose loving support we would not be able to stand here. We understand that as we enter this next chapter of our spiritual leadership, the world is facing unprecedented challenges, and the soul of the Jewish people is particularly vulnerable. We acknowledge that that vulnerability is present in the room right now in a myriad of ways. And we want to invite you to be here fully with all that you're holding. in this container with us today. Thank you for being with us.
The mystics of the Jewish ancestral tradition, they gave us a map of reality that we can hold up to any person, any experience, any community, and even to the divine. And this map, it helps us locate ourselves. It helps us make sense of our environment. It helps us chart a path to where we want to go. This map is called the Tree of Life, and it is made up of 10 luminous qualities. We call them Sefirot.
In this ritual right now, we're stepping out of everyday time and into Eit Ratzon, or liminal time, ripe time, eternal time, sacred time. We shall use the map of the Sefirot, each one of us calling in one of these luminous qualities of the divine as a portal to arrive together with you, our teachers, our colleagues, our families, our ancestors, and the divine into this sacred space.
Keter. I invoke Keter, the formless, beyond all knowledge and meaning, that precedes the beginning of everything. I stir you in this invocation to emanate the impulse of infinite and simple will.
Chokhmah, the breath of God infusing insight into the human spirit. It is the artistry of the divine mind weaving threads of understanding into the fabric of our existence. That's Chokhmah.
Bina. I invoke Bina to bring intuitive knowledge that comes from the womb, the knowledge that you receive in the living waters of the mikveh. Contemplative, intuitive, discerning, compassionate, Bina.
Chesed, loving kindness, the first of the lower sphirot of the tree of life, the energy of creation. Chesed flows as a river of loving kindness. Each sphira carries the energy of kindness as it flows through all others. Chesed.
Gvura, strength, discernment, often thought of as boundaries, can also be understood as chesed, flowing inward. Gvura.
Tiferet. We invoke the qualities of beauty, balance, harmony, the exquisite grace of balancing our loving kindness along with our strength and our discernment, the artistry of beauty, of harmonization. Tiferet.
Netzach. We call on the Sphira Netzach, perseverance, victory, the prophetic impulse. May we be steadfast, creative, and elastic in helping others to connect to Jewish wisdom, in helping ourselves to connect to Jewish wisdom, to find meaning and purpose at this time in history. Netzach.
Hod. We receive the Sephirah of Hod, splendor, thankfulness, humility, majesty. In every moment, may we embody our morning prayers of Moda Ani, grateful I am, always returning to our gratitude for the gift of feeling divine awe. Hod.
Yesod. I call in the ninth divine quality, foundation. May we be open, strong, and well-grounded as we create this portal between the physical and the spiritual worlds in our ceremony today. Yesod.
Malchut. Malchut is this ground where all of this and all of this abides in sacredness, in all of our perfection and perfect imperfection. Here, now, just as we are. Believe it. Malchut. Us 10. We heard your call, great mystery. We are humbled and awed to advocate, to step forward and heal our people and help heal the world. May our banner be of ahava, of love. And may you, great mystery, right here, cover our misgivings with ahava, love. באתי לעמוד ולהתחנן על עמך ישראל ויהי נא דגלנו עליך אהבה ובפשענו תכסה
Wow. Hineni. Here I am. Welcome. I just need a moment to take this in. Some quiet. Just like sitting in the forest, hearing the rustle of the leaves on the tree, feeling the wind, the ruach, upon my cheeks. Ah, is that my parents? Giving me a kiss? We too are here to witness you. I feel the brush of his tail on my leg. Could that be Ari, my trusted companion, who has also departed? Perhaps the rest of my family that has left this plane, as well as good friends, they're all here. Sit with me, welcoming our ancestors and friends who are not here in body, those who have transitioned and left their legacies for those of us who have chosen to pick up a mantle of spiritual leadership in whatever ways possible. I chose, or as Reb Zalman would have said, I am being deployed as a rabbinic pastor. As a rabbinic pastor, I feel as though I'm constantly living my Torah. What does that mean? For me, it means instead of standing on the bima in front of a community, I'm standing on the bima of life, engaging with people as I am needed, being the witness to others as they experience whatever is showing up in the moment, a witness of grief, sadness, joy, beauty, using whatever tools that are necessary, sitting in silence, telling stories, reading psalms, praying, and giving blessings, even singing. Who would have thought? As a rabbinic pastor, I see the need for all communities and individuals to be recognized and honored for who they are. We're living in a period of uncertainty. The war in Israel has been difficult on our communities. The losses and the grief, anger, hostilities, along with anti-Semitism on the rise, has made me realize I need to speak up, to be someone who will not hesitate to act or speak in the face of hostility. As a rabbinic pastor, I can speak in gentle tones, share and help educate others that violence is really unhealed grief from the past, not only our past as individuals, but as our ancestors' past as well. As a God wrestler, I believe that we are all being called upon to support all of humanity and rid the world of hatred. By living as an example of acceptance, non-judgment, and loving kindness, I believe I can assist in facilitating the road to repair and help rid the world of hate. I pray for the trickle-down effect. And with so much need of repair, tikkun olam, I am part of that healing and repairing. I thank Reb Zalman. May his memory be a blessing. He was aware of the deep need for individuals who could work as chaplains, changing the world we live in for the better. The need is greater than ever to support our communities, to be a compassionate witness to those who need to be heard, speak their truths without judgment from others, and assist with the life cycle events and experiences. The power of one can be very strong, creating a domino effect, communicating in healthy fashions, showing up for others in a time of need. Chesed, loving kindness mixed with gevura, discernment, are tools that I use to find balance, tiferet. That is foundational to my service as a rabbinic pastor. As I, Lee Copeland, heir of rabbinic pastor, take on with honor the mantle of a rabbinic pastor, I would like to thank my teachers, my family, and friends. It has been a long journey. Hineni, here I am.
Is that working? Nope. It will. Okay, I'll just talk louder. Thank you, Lee. That was beautiful, and you're beautiful. I appreciate that. So years ago, I settled on what I figured was the purpose of human existence. Ki'im asot mishpat ve'afa chesed ve'hatznea lechet im Elohecha. That's from Micah, where he's suggesting that the purpose of life is simple, only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk humbly with your God. It feels so heavy in its lightness. It's so simple an idea and yet so complex in its implementation. Through the course of my studies here at Aleph, I approached several of our rabbis, basically surveying them and asking, how does one go about living life like this, dwelling with God in this manner? How do we go about doing that? As you can imagine, the responses were varied, sometimes wildly varied, but I was able to tease out a pretty obvious theme. If you were to go about seeking to do justice, loving goodness, and walking humbly with God, the key to accomplishing this is to approach life with awe and with gratitude. Now, of course, that's a simplification, but I think it's an effective one. And furthermore, I would suggest that these two things work in harmony. You see, awe is often just a byproduct of gratitude. And thus, perhaps we can simplify things even further by suggesting that working to generate gratitude is a primary and effective spiritual strategy. It can lead us to where we want to go. It can help us fulfill our purpose, at least as described by Micah. So I started playing with that idea, wondering what gratitude was and how it could be made manifest, how I can have a role in that. And in those thoughts, I realized very clearly that gratitude, well, it's a verb. It's like love or even God. They're all verbs. And while these words can certainly be used as nouns, they can describe a thought or a feeling or a concept, but none of that has any real meaning unless it propagates action. God, love, and gratitude, they all have that in common. They also have in common that when these things are present or absent in our lives, it's impossible not to act accordingly. The Hebrew expression for gratitude is hakarat hatov. It means recognizing or acknowledging the good. It's a principle well established in our tradition, and it's something that we have the ability to cultivate. In a simple and perhaps silly example, we can choose to see the glass as half full or see it as half empty, or we can choose to be grateful that we have some water and a glass to put it in. It's just a change of perception. For you see, when we open ourselves up to the trait of gratitude, we see clearly and accurately how much good there is in our lives. Gratitude affirms. Those things we are lacking are still there, and in reaching for gratitude, it's not suggested that we ignore them or pretend they don't exist, or that we stop working to correct wrongs. But sometimes we tend to focus so heavily on the deficiencies in our lives that we barely perceive the good that counterbalances them. This is important because there's no limit to what we don't have. And if that's where we focus, then our lives are inevitably filled with endless dissatisfactions. But when gratitude is well established, it is a sign of a heart that has been made right and whole. For you see, gratitude, it can't exist with arrogance, resentment, and selfishness. It can't help but recognize that we are not the sole authors of the things in our lives that are good, but that we have a huge debt to those who came before, and to those who are with us now, and to that which created it all. So I stand here today deeply grateful for so much in my life. My wife, Rebecca, and my daughter, Nora, who have stuck with me, forgiven me, put up with me, and supported me through near impossible circumstances. They're the centerpiece of my life and my favorite thing in the whole universe. I am grateful to my home community of CBS, I'm a board member in presence. That's in Anchorage, and to my work husband, Rabbi Avram. That's Avram with a vet. He's very sensitive about that. They're a big part of my ordination. And of course, I am deeply grateful to my teachers here in Olive. The Zahn, the rabbis, the instructors, the staff, and my fellow students, which certainly includes my wonderful Havruta, Lisa. I couldn't have done this without you. You have all taught me many things, including that I need not rely solely on my material senses to find reasons to be grateful and to be optimistic. Thank you for this honor, for this ordination, and for this commencement.
I found myself at 16 years old, ready to tell my Orthodox great-grandfather that I would someday be a rabbi. He, along with his daughter, my grandma Helen, had escaped from Poland during the Holocaust, and I worried that being Orthodox, he would not approve of a female rabbi. He ended up living to be 104, so on the day that I told him, he was already 100. I looked up at him, Zaidalu, as we called him. I'm going to be a rabbi. He looked at me, really looked at me, and replied, I'm a rabbi. My jaw dropped. I had no idea that back in Poland, he had been a rabbi. I had no idea that the rabbinate already lived within my ancestral lineage. No wonder the calling felt so clear and resilient. It's in my blood. It's in my spirit. It's already who I am. This life is so full. So much happens. To get to accompany people as they question, seek deeper meaning and connection, and ritualize the transition moments of life is the only way I see myself playing out my existence on this earth. I feel no deeper honor or pleasure than holding the spiritual portal in baby namings or brisses, bar-mitzvah journeys, weddings, conversions, medicine ceremonies, and especially funerals, honoring the cycles of earthlings, Adam, amidst the cycles of our earth, Adama. As this community knows, in that I can't tell you how many times an Olive classmate or teacher asked if the redwoods where I live are a fake Zoom background. My spirituality roots in the earth, especially in trees. I have always cherished the old Hasidic tale that the rabbi keeps noticing that his son sneaks out of shul every day during davening. The rabbi eventually follows his son and discovers he's not skipping praying. He is still praying the exact liturgy, But rather than in the synagogue, he davens in the woods. After witnessing his son sneak out and walk all the way from the shul to the forest day after day, the rabbi finally approaches his son, saying, "Don't you know that God is the same everywhere?" In which his son smiles and nods, then wisely replies, "But I'm not." I think if my Zaidalu and all my other ancestors and rabbis who came before me saw my current lifestyle in the redwoods, they might respond the same as the rabbi in this story. Who knows, though, who the son in the story grew up to be? Whether he became an arborist, a tree climber, a mushroom forager, any other job to get him into the woods, or if he himself became a rabbi. In my next generation of this story, the whole community joins the son, walking out of the synagogue building to pray together on the earth with the trees. A few years into my rabbinical school journey, as I experienced more and more what it means to actually pray with my full heart and soul, I started to feel drawn to wrapping tefillin. The acupressure aspects of it began to speak to me, sensing the wisdom of how this embodied practice so intentionally taps into certain pressure points. I thought of my Zaidalu's tefillin, and I thought of this very day, this portal of Smicha. And I decided years ago to wait, to never wrap tefillin until the very day I would finally, Be'ezrat Hashem, become a rabbi. So this morning, with this sacred kahal of my teachers and fellow students who are also my teachers, I wrapped tefillin for the very first time. My Zaidalu's tefillin, that he wrapped around himself thousands of times, every single day, from Poland to escaping to Siberia, then to Uzbekistan, to Germany, then finally to here, the US. That's the power of our tradition's sacred rituals. They transcend time. They transcend space. They enable and empower us to access and potentially even heal those who came before us and will come after us. They enable us to feel Havaya, the divine presence, everywhere. In regards to transcending time, on my very first day of rabbinical school, I learned that the Talmud teaches us the notion of chazor me'acharecha, that we walk through life backwards. We cannot see what has not yet happened, so our back is to it, while we can see all that has happened, so we're facing it. We're walking backwards through life. So as our world continues to radically shift in ways that we could never see coming, because our back is to the future, may this inspiring cohort of about-to-be smucht rabbis lead our communities back to the trees, whether metaphorically or literally, to always feel the divine presence everywhere.
Amen. Yes, I am the Aleph student who traveled furthest to be here. I live in Cape Town, South Africa, and joining this kahal online or in person has been so special, beautiful, and deeply enriching. I also originally come from Budapest, Hungary. Why is this important to start with? I come from a place where being openly Jewish was not safe, not welcome, and where a couple decades ago, only on Purim could I imagine that as a woman, I could be a yeshiva bocher or a rabbi. So, how did I go from there to this ordination ceremony today? It was my late grandfather who taught me how to read and write in Hebrew during the summer holidays I spent with my grandparents in the countryside. My grandfather, during World War II, along with other Jewish men from his town, was taken to Russia as a human shield to the Hungarian army. He miraculously survived, and as he was a linguist, on his way back home, through the Russian villages, he learned Russian. He also spoke German. He said it was Goethe's language as well. I also remember him reading the foreword in Yiddish. He became a professor of linguistics after the war, but he wouldn't talk about religion. From time to time, he used to take Russian tourists around his small town and stop at the minaret built when the Turkish Empire ruled this area. This is where they would do their call to prayer, he would say, and then recited the Shema. He watched the Russian tourists' reactions. Those who knew what he was saying would come to talk to him afterwards. And in this way, he would find those who were secretly Jews just like him. They forged long-term relationships, exchanging letters and updates and Yiddish literature. But religion was off the table. He wrote a beautiful farewell letter to me before he died, while I was in Jerusalem, immersing myself in Jewish texts for the first time at Pardes. My mom and aunt found his talit in the linen cabinet, neatly folded, untouched for decades, just like our religious practices and spirituality were, which I had just found and started to unfold. Over 10 years later, pregnant with my third child in Cape Town, a song kept coming to me. You see, I often sing to myself and then listen to why that song came and find the wisdom in it. It is a line from our liturgy in the Torah service, originally from Eicha, Lamentations. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva. Turn us towards you, God, and we will return. A beautiful idea that we are in partnership with the divine in the process of returning, making tshuva. What caught my attention, though, was the next line. Chadesh yameinu kekedam. Renew our days as of old. Renew, that made sense. After all, I was expecting a baby, a new life. It should renew our family relationships and all that new life would bring to the world. But why kekedam, as of old? Then I realized, while I am carrying and birthing a new baby, a new family member, a new person into the world, my very act of carrying a baby and bringing it into the world is an ancient one, an ancient act of renewal. But there's more, a chidush, a new insight into this verse. Chadesh renew also means repair. And with that, our verse now says to renew and repair our days. And there is a lot to repair and a lot to heal in our world today and in the past. My grandfather's world, our world, and doing that, we renew and repair the future. So may our ordination and each new cohort of rabbis be a renewal, a repair. May each new student we teach, may each new prayer and blessing pronounced bring us closer to renewal, renewed sanctity, and healing within ourselves, our ancestors, and in the entire world. My Hebrew name is Hannah Devorah Shulamit. The first letters of my name spell Chadash. As I become a brand new rabbi, I hope to be renewed and to renew a bridge from the past to the future. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Venashuva, Venashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu keketem. Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu keketem.
Shakoach, Andi. Can you hear Ratzon? Thank you. Takes a village. In the synagogue at the Isabella Friedman Jewish Retreat Center in Connecticut, there are two prominent banners on either side of the ark, each with a quote from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. Those of you who have been there know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you can visualize it. To the left, if you're facing the ark, to pray is to take notice of the wonder, to regain the sense of mystery that animates all beings. Prayer is our humble answer to the inconceivable surprise of living. A stunning reminder, isn't it? We are here, breathing, living. Radical amazement and gratitude. My Chavruta partner Moshe spoke so beautifully about that. Prayer helps us get there. Indeed, it is perfectly stated. However, to the right, the other banner offers a possible rebuttal. Prayer is meaningless unless it is subversive. unless it seeks to overthrow and to ruin the pyramids of callousness, hatred, opportunism, falsehoods. The liturgical movement must become a revolutionary movement, seeking to overthrow the forces that destroy the promise, the hope, the vision. Also perfect, right? Prayer is meaningless unless it propels us into action. We are Chavruta partners, and this is the one thing we did not exchange together, but we share such a common sentiment. Prayer is the fuel to heal a world in need of chesed, of loving kindness. I encountered Heschel's provocative juxtaposition of what prayer is the summer of 2016. I had just been accepted into the Aleph Ordination program and was attending my first week of the davening leadership training program. Woo! Shout out DLTI. These two quotes and their compelling juxtaposition on either side of the Torah, have stayed with me. They inform my spiritual leadership and have anchored me as a leader. Torah teaches us, with her every turn, the art of sacred balance. Aleinu, it is upon us to find the sweet spot and to harmonize radical amazement, a state of acceptance and gratitude, with tikkun, tangible action tending to the brokenness and darkness around us. These two lessons from Heschel teach us that amazement and gratitude lead us to the next obvious move, transforming the world that is into the world that ought to be. And these two sentiments are woven throughout our sacred texts. Psalm 150 wows us into our aliveness. Kol haneshama tehelalya. Hallelujah. Let all that breathes praise the Holy One. Hallelujah. And from the Amidah, our central prayer, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzavaot, Malo Chol Haaretz Kevodo. Holy, holy, holy is Yah, the convener of the multitudes. The whole entire world is filled with your glory. Yet we don't stop there. We can't stop there. Prayer must include action in the world. In addition to praying with our hearts and our souls, Heschel teaches we must also pray with our feet. In Sefer Devarim, Moshe says of God, he executes the judgment of the orphan and widow, and he loves the stranger to give him bread and clothing. Ve'ahavtem et hager ki gerim heintem be'eretz Mitzrayim. You shall love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. 11th century rabbinic commentator Rashi affirms this. The Holy One does acts of kindness. You too should do acts of kindness. And of course, the prophet Isaiah shakes us into action. We know from the Yom Kippur Haftarah, this is the fast I desire, to unlock fetters of wickedness, to let the oppressed go free, to share your bread with the hungry, to take the wretched poor into your home, when you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to ignore your own kin. Back in 2016, in that summer evening, I looked at those banners in the synagogue and I thought, am I Camp Notice the Wonder? Or am I Camp Ruin the Pyramids of Callousness and Hatred? The answer Torah teaches us, of course, is yes. Be in both camps. Elu va'elu. These and these are the words of the living God. Because the banners are not actually on either side. They are loving arms embracing Torah all around. To revel in the sheer amazement of being alive and to speak truth to power, to say, no, this is not right. We must pursue justice and peace. In a world divided among so many camps of either or, in a time of polarizing war, we need this Torah. And this is the Torah I want to continue to amplify in the world. And I could not do so without having walked this path with my chevra, my teachers, my family supporting me, my chavruta, my mentors, Rabbi Julie and Rabbi Menachem, my home community in Chico supporting me every step of the way. I invite all of you to walk this Torah with me as well.
Got a new tallis. I feel kind of like a bat mitzvah girl, like I don't know how to wear it. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for making it. I wanted to take down my sukkah before traveling here from Jerusalem, where I live. I thought about taking down my sukkah many times over the last 3 months since Shmini Atzeret, which this year was also October 7th. As weeks went on, it began to feel increasingly symbolic that my sukkah still stood. The Sukkot, which we build and dwell in for a week every year, remind us of our vulnerability, that everything is temporary, and yet also connect us with our ancestors, reminding us that some things are eternal. For me, these last few months have felt like a final initiation before my Smicha, of coming to accept that I cannot know what will happen from moment to moment. I must simply focus on what I can do to build and rebuild in the moment I'm in. In our daily liturgy, both in the evening prayers and also the bedtime Shema, we say, Ufros alenu sukat shlomecha. Spread over us your sukkah of shalom or shlemut, your sukkah of peace, your sukkah of wholeness or completion. That shalom or shlemut are found embodied in a sukkah is profound. Every day we ask God, or rather that infinitely expansive, interconnected, universal oneness that a lot of folks call God, to cover us in a sukkah of peace. A sukkah, not a palace, not anything that can be built for permanence, but a sukkah. The thing we build knowing that it will not withstand unordinary winds. When we pray these words, we affirm and hint at some very profound truths about the nature of peace and of completion. We affirm that peace, wholeness, and completion cannot be built once for perpetuity. They must be built and rebuilt delicately and deliberately on an ongoing basis. Peace is something that will fall, and yet is still worth building. Completion today brings with it the truth that there will be something else to complete tomorrow. All fragments of peace today must not be taken for granted. Following the intense spiritual tasks for which he was reluctantly deployed, Yonah, our prophet, notably found comfort beneath a shade vine. The text says, Vaya'as lo sham sukkah. He made there a sukkah, a place of comfort and enjoyment. The next day, insects destroyed the vine, leaving him so distressed that he no longer wanted to live, despite the fact that God, the eternal, was still fully present with him. I pray that in my deployment, I am able to enjoy the comfort of the shade trees when they're there, and continue to remain in touch with the eternal, even when they're not. I pray to never become so attached to my Sukkot that I forget the one still dwells with me. Ufros aleinu sukkat shlomecha, spread over us your sukkah of peace. Spread over us your sukkah of completion. I think a further reason why my sukkah still stands is that this year on Shmini Atzeret, time halted. For me, it is still Shmini Atzeret, and I know for many others as well. The seasons continue, and a part of me is frozen on that day in the gut-wrenching horrors that continue to unfold. The walls of my sukkah have moved as we have undergone quite unordinary winds, and yet all the essential materials remain, reminding us that we have real work to do. On the holiday of Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day after the week-long festival of Sukkot, which is also Simchat Torah in Israel, we celebrate the completion of our year reading the Torah. The epic journey of our spiritual ancestors has led them to the precipice of the promised land about to enter. And our texts give us two options on where they go from there. On Simchat Torah, we scroll back to the beginning. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim vet haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The promised land is actually the journey, and we've been there the entire time. Or, if we're reading a Tanakh, we continue on into the books of the prophets with years of ongoing war and struggle, building structures that fall and need to be built again. Here we learn that the never-ending story of the human quest for shlemut is never complete. Yet perhaps these two options that on surface seem so very different are actually the same. When I return home to Jerusalem, Yerushalem Bezrat Hashem bimheira v'yameinu, I will need to tend to my half-up, half-fallen sukkah. But every day, whether I'm here or there or anywhere else that my path takes me, I will continue to include in my prayers when I pray the words Ufros aleinu, spread over us, Sukkat shlomecha, your sukkah of peace. To include in my prayers that aleinu, that us, is all of us, all of humanity being embraced together in peace. May we all be blessed with the capacity to imagine and to build such a sukkah.
Let's take a moment to just move our bodies a little bit. Sitting, taking in, appreciating all of the gifts that's been given to us from all this wisdom. In 2016, I spent the week of Passover at a refugee camp in Piraeus, Greece, serving refugee families right off the boats from Syria, Afghanistan, Yazidis fleeing nightmares of wars. The needs were grave, and their tent walls, like the veils between the realms, were thin. One day on my way back from the camp, there was a live stream on Facebook with a NASA astronaut who just returned from the International Space Station. I chatted in on my way back. What has being in space taught you about the human family and caring for one another? The spaceman responded, when you look through the observatory window of the station and you see the full face of the Earth, you recognize it is a beautiful but fragile spaceship. Just like the space station hanging in the cold void of space, it provides us food, water, air to breathe, protection from radiation, and the cold void of space. We have to take care of our spaceship, and I think that's a lesson for those of us on Spaceship Earth. Reb Zalman's Gaian vision of the living entity of Earth and a planetary fellowship of peoples and religions today seem a bit far for me and many others. And yet the one body is still in pain. A collective nightmare has taken hold of our waking lives. A year later, as we were about to lead 120 anxious people into a bearing witness retreat in the nightmare that was Auschwitz, I turned to my Jewish Buddhist teacher, Bernie Glassman, for last words of advice. Quick and sharp as a nail, his gaze on me, he said, nothing depends on you. It's a lot of faith from a Buddhist teacher. So what is Tzorach HaSha'ah today? How do we take care of this spaceship while also knowing nothing depends on us? Full faith in mystery, how to expand our capacity to be with the impossible, the pain, the dissonance, the confusion, the madness, the disappointment, the unknown. In the great narrative of this cosmos, with whom the very sense of covenant seems to be broken, how would the Jewish people, who has co-stewarded this planet and has praised infinity for 5,000 years, prevail? My Jewish peace-building teacher, the late Dr. Paula Green, awarded by the Dalai Lama as an unsung hero of compassion, she witnessed survivors of wars and genocide on nearly all continents and found that the cycle of revenge and reconciliation is perpetuated by the unwillingness to see our own shame, guilt, and grief, leading either to violence or avoidance. Our people, myself, we leave, we forget, we assimilate, we self-erase our ancestral ways because it's too damn painful to be a Jew sometimes. How to break this cycle? How to tend to this grief? Reb Nachman appears behind Bernie, behind the astronaut, behind Paula, pokes his head out. Reb Nachman, an 18th century Hasidic rabbi, says in Likutei Moharan, Bet Memtet Gimel and Bet, והעיקר לעצור ולעכב החמימות בעת התאוות, ולהניחו בעת התפילה והעבודה, שם יניח חמימותו והתלהבותו לתוך העבודה. Now, the main thing, well, Nachman had many main things, but this is the main thing for now. The main thing is to stop and restrain the passion, the heat, in the moment of yearning, in the moment of outrage, in the moment of heartbreak, not dismiss, not indulge. Le'akev, to be with, to stay with them, not rush ahead. We need to train our consciousness to be okay with not knowing, to stay steady through the tohu, the chaos. We need to reclaim solitude and create Jewish monasteries to train not just geologists of the soul, but technologists of consciousness, to have direct access to the ground of being, this malchut, what the Maggid of Kozhenitz called Yashar El, directly to God, Israel. Sham yaniach hamimuto v'itlahavuto letoch ha'avodah. This is where one places all of this pain, all of this confusion. Yaniach, same word as mincha. It's in fact a gift. To learn to rewire our nervous system in the midst of the ecstasy that is grief. So we can be in our grief and not be burned like the burning bush, and not to turn to pillars of salt when our dreams shatter. It is here that this bottleneck, this grief, this kina, becomes an entity we can converse with, we can touch, and we can love. But it doesn't end there. In this space, deep time, and deep consciousness, when we are in the presence of our ancestors, Olam Ha'avot, Isaiah appears behind Reb Nachman, and he says, don't get lost in your sukkah. Don't hold on to your sukkah. But it's also not just about you. That gift of the grief, and I know it's hard to think that this grief is a gift. And he says, "Ve'avioti el har kodshi, ve'simachtim bebeit veilati." This prayer that Reb Nachman is calling us into, Isaiah is saying, this is in fact the gift. It is here that kina, grief, awakens hallel, praise, where the chamimut that Rab Nachman talked about becomes hitlahavut, becoming aflamed. Oloteihem וזבחיהם לרצון על מזבחי, כי ביתי בית תפילה, יקרא לכל העמים. Because they're gifts on the altar of our own awareness will open a big house for everyone. It is here that the covenant is reaffirmed, the Brit Ben Abtarim, between the pieces. It is here, at this gate of Kina, that the entity of grief that awakened Hallel of mystery awakens the Oseh Shalom, the great, great peacemaker. Vavioti el hakodeshi vesimachtim beveit tefilati vavioti el hakodeshi ושימחתים בבית תפילתי. עולותיהם וזבחיהם לרצון על מזבחי. כי ביתי בית תפילה יקרא לכל העמים. איי 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 איי
So very holy. Hiding and revealing are important mystical concepts that intertwine and speak to each other. Before I began my rabbinic training, I used to sing a private prayer. Use me, God. Use me to make something new, make something bright, make something unafraid of your light. My prayer was to reveal an inner part of me in order to be useful to this world. And this hope is reflected in the Hebrew word for world, ha-olam. In a bracha, a blessing, we praise the sourcing power we call God as the melech of the olam, the sourcing power of the world. Yet a simple change in prefix, le-olam, alters the meaning. Le-olam means forever. Le-olam va'ed, we say forever and ever, eternally. One way to look at this linguistic connection between world and eternity is that something eternal belongs to this world. And so the natural evolution of this world is towards eternal oneness. But when this same word is in its passive form, ne'elam, the same word means hidden. In the medieval hymn called Yigdal, we sing of the divine attributes, acknowledging that God is ne'elam v'gam ein sof la'achduto, hidden and also boundless in unity. My dream of being a rabbi was simultaneously my most boundless, eternal sense of self, and yet largely hidden. But much like the secret of oneness, it was hidden in plain sight. The call to be a rabbi had come in many forms throughout my life. It came inspired by my temple's cantor growing up, and every time I stepped on stage to perform as an actor, how I loved to be in communion with an audience in a way that I see now was much more aligned with leading prayer than playing a role. All of these moments are treasures from my soul that came out of hiding to show me the way I am meant to be used. Many of our sages, especially when they would consider hardship and the particular struggle of the Jewish people throughout time, felt that God was overly hidden in this world. And at the same time, our sages also teach, Milo chol haaretz kivodo, the whole world is filled with divine glory. Or in Aramaic, as expressed in the Zohar, leit atar penui mineh, no place is empty of God. At Aleph, the community that has held and nurtured me, we celebrate multiplicity. We are not afraid of holding polarities and celebrating the boundless unity of all that connects us. We are not afraid of the dark, and we are not afraid of our light. We have built a vessel in this community to hold maximal wholeness while always knowing there is more to reveal. So as I step into my rabbinate, I again affirm my prayer. Use me, God. Use me, God. The main difference between then and now is that I am not alone singing my prayer. I am with all of you, my soul allies. Hiddenness is revealed through connection. So now, in the presence of my teachers for whom I hold with such honor, thank you for making manifest untapped resources in me and so many others. And to my family who has seen me through this journey, and Congregation Kol Halev, the community I serve in Baltimore, who allow me to serve, thank you. In just a few short moments, our teachers will lay their hands on our backs, connecting to us and empowering us to go forth into the world with their great charge. May your hands be like ours, they will say. Your decree like our decrees. Your rabbinic acts valid like ours, your blessings like our blessings. And I open my heart to that affirmation. It is a level of trust, connection, and empowerment that is so sacred. So may we all be blessed. To access connectivity with fluidity, ease, and trust in each other, revealing the secret of oneness, which is this world eternally.
When I first encountered the progressive Jewish world, years after leaving ultra-Orthodoxy. I loved it, but there was something that I found surprising. People attending my lectures, or even beloved colleagues, would say, "We're not halachic Jews. We're not religious Jews." It confounded me. These were people living intentional lives that were shaped by ancient, timeless moral principles, kind people, people devoted to justice, people who cultivated awe-filled relationships with the natural world. They seemed pretty religious to me. And they'd say, "Oh, but I don't keep all the laws that the ancestors did." But many of our ancestors didn't keep those laws because many of those laws were invented after the Holocaust or after the Enlightenment. And not a single human being keeps all the laws because so many contradict each other. You don't know enough? Neither did our ancient mothers, who were mostly illiterate. You don't wear an ancient religious costume? Neither do many ultra-Orthodox men, whose uniform of a suit and a black hat was adopted in the 1920s, when their teachers, annoyed that their students looked so disheveled, said, "Dress like gentlemen." So they dressed like gentlemen of the 1920s, and they still do. Fundamentalists of all types love the myth that they are the only authentic representatives of religion. We don't need to buy into that myth. Religious Judaism is ours to define. And you might say, "Jericho, you don't understand. Why the hell would I want to be religious? I can't stand religious people, religious control, uniformity. Religion is boring. Stop trying to convince me that I'm religious. I want nothing to do with it." I think that perspective has fallen prey to perhaps the greatest con of all time. Authoritarianism, tedium, patriarchy, these are not inherent to religion. They are symptoms of how religion has been hijacked. Religion is the most powerful technology that human beings have. It launches civilizations, it transforms cultures, it bends reality. Progressive folks have abandoned religion and left its power by those who claim it, to seize it, to do harm. Religious fundamentalists have transformed the political landscape of America and of Israel. They say that their preferred policies are the will of God. Nonsense. Judaism emphasizes justice. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. The most repeated commandment in the Torah is to love the stranger. For generations, our people have dreamed and worked for Mashiach, a more liberated world in which the rights of even those who are different from us are respected. What defines a religious Jew? 2,000 years ago, the great sage Rabbi Akiva said, "The greatest imperative of the Torah, not kosher, not Shabbat, love our fellow humans like ourselves." You and I can stand up and speak for the ancestors. We can speak for God in a voice of compassion and justice and say, this is the religious perspective. There's a Talmudic story. Rabbi Yanai invites a distinguished-looking stranger home for dinner. Yanai quizzes his guest on Talmud. Guest knows nothing. Torah, nothing. Disappointed, Yanai asks his guest to say the blessing after the meal. The guest doesn't know how. Disappointed and disgusted by this ignorance, Yanai says sarcastically, "Can you repeat after me? Can you at least do this and say, 'A dog ate the food of Yanai'?" And the guest jumps up and he seizes Yanai by the collar and he says, Yerutatiga borta atmoneli. You have stolen my inheritance. I've heard school children say, the Torah commanded to us by our ancestors is the inheritance of the children of Jacob. They don't say it's the inheritance of Yanai. You have no rightful ownership over what already belongs to me. Religion is a human inheritance. We don't need to cede it to people who abuse it. In this heartbreaking global moment, we are being invited to step into our power each of us has to seize our inheritance as religious people, as people devoted to kindness, to justice and truth, to birth a better, more liberatory world for us all.
Thank you for those powerful words, Jericho. I have embraced many pearls of Reb Zalman's wisdom as my personal Torah. These days, particularly at this difficult time, when many of us find ourselves in such polarized spaces, the pearl that stands out most, that challenges me most, is the lesson on the severe teacher from Reb Zalman's work on aging to saging. From early on, before we can even speak, we learn from our interactions with others. Some we experience as supportive and validating, and others not so much. Some even may be particularly rough. Reb Zalman's lesson on the severe teacher challenges us to pay attention to those rougher spots, to learn as much as we can from our interactions with the people in our lives who may be difficult for us, who we might find irritating or even hurtful. The lesson does not give a pass to the severe teacher for causing harm, nor does it dismiss the impact of any associated trauma. What it does do, however, is offer us the opportunity to gain insight from our negative reactions by helping us to become more equanimous, to have more equanimity. The Baal Shem Tov points out that hishtavut, the word for equanimity, and shaveh, the word for equal, share the same Hebrew root. And he draws a lesson from that connection. He says that in order to cultivate equanimity, we work on staying centered and balanced no matter what happens, whether people praise us, whether they criticize us, or whether they insult us. Whatever comes our way, we can let it be shaveh. We can let it be equal, the same to us. This is easier said than done, to be sure, as it requires a great deal of humility and self-awareness. As the great Jewish mystic Chaim Vital notes, humility is essential for deep learning. Just as water comes from a high place to descend to a lower place, so too Torah, sacred wisdom, flows down to dwell upon one who is humble of spirit. Ma ha'mayim einam hochim ela lemakom namuch. In other words, if we let the ego recede and become more porous, we become more open to receiving wisdom. We become more capable of equanimity. We become less hooked, less reactive. We let whatever comes pass through us like water. We feel it, we experience it, we learn from it, and then we let it go. My mashpia, Rabbi Ori Har, a Musmechet of Reb Zalman, adds another dimension to this exploration, hidden in Shaviti Adonai Lenegdi Tamid from Psalm 16, which instructs us to always place God before us, to always be aware of God's presence. She notes that Shaviti, the word for being present and aware, and Hishtavut, the word for equanimity, and Shaveh, the word for equal, all share the same root. We can discover in Shaviti the equalizing, balancing nature of being truly present, and in that, the potential for true meeting, for that oneness that we're craving for, that experience of oneness. Being present helps us find that power we call God, not just outside or in front of us, but always flowing within us, continually moving through us like water. This wisdom, framed a bit differently, is reflected in yesterday's Torah portion, where God refers to God's self as Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, as I will be what I will be, an ever-unfolding flow of being revealed to us through equanimity, through humility, a place of revelation, of clarity and insight, where we no longer are hooked by what feeds or wounds our egos. Reb Zalman's teaching on the severe teacher is a spiritual tool to help us get closer to that fluid awareness. As challenging as it is for me, I know that I must be just as attentive to the lessons of my severe teachers, my Gevuradic teachers, as to the lessons of my kind Chesedic teachers, and allow their lessons to be shaveh, of equal importance to me. As an ever-evolving, a hopeful ever-evolving rabbi, I know I must attend to the midah of equanimity every single day in order to meet people where they are and respond with clarity and love-centered good judgment. And I know that I must do my inner work with balance and hishtavut, so that I will not miss the signs of how I am to serve as a human being, a Jew, and a rabbi. And may God help me on this path. V'hi noam Adonai Elohim aleinu u'ma'aseh yadenu konana aleinu u'ma'aseh yadenu konanehu. May my hands, may the hands of my Smicha siblings, may the hands of all of us prosper with good works and be aligned with the flow of being. V'hi noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu. V'hi noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu. U'ma'aseh yadeinu konen aleinu. U'ma'aseh yadeinu konen ehu. V'hi noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu. V'hi noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu. U'ma'aseh yadeinu konen
We're aware of the time and the amount of time that you have been sitting quietly. No, don't do it. So while we adjust the microphone and the podium, how about if people would like to stand up for a minute, stretch a little bit. If you've been uncomfortable, you know that outside you can get more comfort out there, where there's where there are washrooms for people to use. So let's take a minute and we'll come back. But not long, please, because we do know what time it is. Okay, well, I can only do one thing at a time. I need this to be like this. I need this. Okay. Okay. Now we need to just actually tilt this down even more. Okay. We don't touch it too much. Okay. All right. He used it. Huh? Have this one then? Okay. Is that all right? I don't know if it's on. I don't know what turns this one on. It's not working. This one isn't. I'll just have to live with it. What? What? I know. I think we're second guessing. This mic doesn't seem to work. Huh?
It's muted back there.
Okay, and this one seems to have an echo to it. That's why I kind of was concerned. Okay, it's fine with me. Let's.
You want to use this mic? It
I
doesn't
don't
matter.
care which mic I use. I just want to use it. A little lower because Tanya's going to be coming up too. Okay, the mics are adjusted. The podium is in the right angle. So if people could now. It's very risky to do what I just did. Very risky. Is the mic on? No. Okay. Oh, here it is. It's on. Okay, friends. This is a 3-act play. We finished Act 2. We're up to Act 3. Sit down, and let's really enjoy the next part. Thank you. Okay. I want to begin by thanking you all for this opportunity to speak prior to the moment when you will all receive the Smicha, which is your entry into our lineage. How do I encapsulate a lifetime of commitment to the spiritual renewal of our Judaism in the few minutes that I have? And the answer is, I can't. And so what follows is abridged, digested, and by nature incomplete. What does it mean for you to be joining a lineage? Why does awareness of being part of a lineage matter when our self-declared mission is the renewal of Judaism? Doesn't that mean a new start? Why do we have to care about issues and conversations from the distant past when we are different and something new? This question is itself a part of our lineage. When Reb Zalman took his pilgrimage to the kever of the Besht, he sought a sign that the lineage which begins with him, meaning the lineage that begins with Reb Zalman, is a true graft on the lineage of the Baal Shem Tov. Reb Zalman believed that we are a movement of renewal, not restoration. We are not trying to bring back an idealized image of a past Judaism, yet we are also not something totally new, a supersessionist movement which transcends and replaces. Like the Hasidim of the Besht, who had to decide how to balance the radical nature of their practices against the desire to remain part of the halachic tradition, so we as well are in the perpetual process of balancing the needs of the moment with the processes we've inherited, halachic, devotional, and scientific. So it behooves us to be humble about our innovative correctness, to recognize that our past provides guidance, if not answers, to realize that our tradition is much richer and more varied than a survey course or two can reflect. Respecting both what the rearview mirror can illuminate as well as its limitations allows us to connect the various chains of our tradition with the need to be sensitive to the changes now taking place, as well as thinking ahead and being aware that future generations will need to engage our traditions in ways that work best for them. In my mind, that means utilizing language and method that are compatible with the past and provide a continuity for the future. And third, being aware of our lineage can bring a humility to our paths as Klei Kodesh. As I have said many times, the responsa literature, which in volume surpasses that of the codes and their commentaries, is mostly poskim, those to whom others turned for advice on how to proceed, the poskim responding to field rabbis. The job of the posek was to use the time provided to the posek to probe more deeply into precedent than the questioner had time for, and there was no shame in writing and asking for advice. Lineage itself needs periodic renewing. The Jewish way of thinking, indeed the way of most Middle Eastern peoples, is about balancing multiple truths rather than deciding between right and wrong. Being willing to consult the past honors that truth and helps us to avoid the pitfalls of binary thinking. And encapsulated in what may be my favorite phrase in all of responsa literature, lefi aniyat dati, IMHO, right, in my humble opinion. That's exactly what it means. What are we about then? 3 simple principles expressed in Reb Chana Tiferet's candlelighting. I'm crying here instead of when I mention Chana later. Reb Chana Tiferet's candlelighting meditation. Come, let us light up our hearts. Come, let us light up our homes. Breathe in and breathe out, making circles of love. Oh, come, let us light up the world. Va'asayetchem al kanfei nisharim, va'avi etchem elai. I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to me. Ki mi goy gadol asher lo Elohim krovim elav, Adonai Eloheinu b'chol kor'enu elav. For who else is such a great nation that has God so near to it as Yud He Vav He, our God, in all our calling? We are the people called from the slavery of Egypt, carried on the wings of Shekhinah, to be among those in this world who witness to the presence of the divine in this world. According to Pirkei Avot, Moshe received Torah at Sinai and transmitted it to Yehoshua, who in turn transmitted Torah to the elders, who transmitted Torah to the prophets, who in turn transmitted it to the men of the Great Assembly. Over time, this linear transmission, the laying on of hands, Smicha, from one generation of men to another, became diffused as we wandered, spread out over the world, and as the number of our teachers who nourished disciples grew. For many, being a rabbi eventually became a degree, a measure of the intellectual mastery of a body of material, which in turn conferred power and authority. For us, being a Kli Kodesh acknowledges belonging to a lineage. In this moment of a great shifting of paradigms, we express a willingness to serve others as a model and guide of spiritual practice and development with a commitment to justice and the life of the earth. Today we welcome our latest initiates, rabbis and a rabbinic pastor, into the new lineage of Jewish spiritual renewal, drawing deeply on the wisdom of all those who have preceded us, miyama v'kedma tzafona v'negba, from west to east, from south to north, embracing their unique traditions and heritages, and weaving themselves into a special relationship with the devotional mystics of Tzfat and Eastern European Hasidism, a lineage given first expression and form by our beloved Reb Zalman Schachter Shalom Alav HaShalom. Now, in our times, we lay the hands of smicha, of trust and confidence on all genders, with loving respect for multiple possibilities of sexual orientation and gender expression. This is in keeping with our commitment to voluntary negotiation with the dynamic, ever-fluctuating balance between individual practice and communal cohesion.
According to the lineage of Pirkei Imahot, Miriam received Torah at Sinai and passed it to Machla, Noah, Chagla, Milka, and Tirza, the daughters of Tzalafchad, who passed it to Devorah, who gave it to Chana, who passed it to Michal bat Shaul, eventually received by Bruria, transmitted to Rachel Aberlin of Tzvat, Chana Rachel of Ludmilla, Regina Jonas of Berlin, and now surfacing again to walk side by side and share the light equally with the parallel lineage of men with which we began. We are humbly grateful for this moment of living in the fulfillment of our age-old dream. May the light of the moon be like the light of the sun and like the light of the 7 days of creation. May we all commit ourselves to enhancing the lights of all people in all their multiple, varied, and wonderful forms, that together humanity grow ever stronger in the bond of open partnership and service to the One, that our world become reoriented toward Tikkun Olam b'Malchut Shaddai. Amen.
This was the moment when I was supposed to join Chana back in our seats, and Reb Marsha would come up to give the invocation prior to the giving of the Smicha. For many years, this ceremony's procession began with Reb Marsha and me walking arm in arm. Aren't computers amazing for storing so many photos? We had both hoped that we would begin today's ceremony in the same way, and we are both saddened that this could not be. So let us begin by praying for our beloveds, for Chazan Yaakov Sender ben Harav Moshe HaKohen Barachel, Harav Miriam Yael bat Yitzchak V'Sara, and also now Harav Avraham Yitzchak Ishmael ben Chana, and the many others in our hearts at this time, both people we know and those of our larger family, the Jewish people. From deep within the home of my soul, now let the healing begin. From deep within the home of my soul, now let the healing begin. Heal our bodies, open our hearts, awaken our minds. Shekhinah, heal our bodies, open our hearts, awaken our minds. Shekhinah, Ana Elna, Rifana La, Ana Elna, Rifana La, Ana Elna, Rifana La, Ana Elna, Rifana La. And this little moment of invocation, which began as Reb Marsha's moment, became mine for a while, And then I suggested to Reb Marsha, I'm sure you're looking, would you like to write some of the words for this, for everyone to hear? And so the invocation now becomes a shared project of our very deeply intertwined souls as we have worked together on this Aleph ordination program since even before it started. So from Reb Marsha, the following. Yesterday on Shabbat, we entered Sefer Shemot, the book of exile and redemption, the greatest drama in the Torah. The saga of our descent, that's as far as I can go as she goes. The saga of our descent into exile and slavery in Mitzrayim, the place of constriction and our ascent into liberation as a free people. Sefer Shemot, curiously not called the book of Exodus, but the book of names, for it begins in this unusual way. Ve'ela Shemot b'nei Yisrael, and these are the names of the children of Israel who went down to Mitzrayim. We can unpack that in an interesting way when we notice that in Sefer Breshit, in the tale of creation, Torah uses the word or, light, 5 times. The Midrash teaches that these 5 references to light correspond to the 5 books of the Torah. 5 books of Torah, 5 references to light. When God calls out, Yehi or, let there be light, this corresponds to Sefer Breshit. The response, Vayehi or, and there was light, corresponds to Sefer Shemot. Let there be light, this is the light that the Avot and the Imahot lived by and planted for us. And there was light. This is the light of Sefer Shemot. Yeah. Oh, okay. This is also the light of Sefer Shemot. This is the light we must discover inside ourselves, even in the midst of exile. How do we do that? How do we find the light inside ourselves, especially when times are oppressive, turbulent, when crises loom, and there is so much uncertainty? No surprise. This is a core challenge and lesson of Sefer Shemot. The hardships of the exile in Mitzrayim, followed by those in the desert, teach us to dig down deeply into ourselves and find powerful inner light, to find courage, strength, capacities, talents, and see possibilities that we didn't even know existed. And so Reb Marsha's partner of many years continues. In this week's Sidra, God calls to Moshe, Bo, come. The singular unity, which is the name given for Moshe, Eheyeh and Yud-He Vav-He, evoke the ultimate mystery. In the details of our lives and callings, the divine calls in multiple possibilities of names. When I sing the name of God, my spirit rises. From the depths she soars in the light. When I sing the name of God, my spirit rises. From the depths she soars in the night. Shaddai, Shekhinah Adonai Tzevaot, Havaya Mekor Chaim, Tzur Makom El Elyon, Yaruach Elohim. Which name of God is calling you by name at this moment? Each of you needs to search within to find what Reb Marsha just called the courage, strength, capacities, talents, and possibilities that you didn't even know existed. Fortunately, and at the same time, each of you, each of us, is not alone. This is a moment of deep change for you and also for our movement. As you lean into the hands that hold you, the hands of your teachers and mentors who are transmitting this smicha to all of you, visualize that those who hold you now are the ones whom we, the founding generation of Jewish renewal in Aleph, held when they received smicha. And holding us, our Reb Zalman and the rabbinical seminaries many of us also attended. The hands on our backs go back centuries, and your hands, which will hold the next generations, will hopefully extend forward until Mashiach arrives. We move forward with the strength that our predecessors gave us, and may you now move forward with that same strength, continuity, and innovation. So, will you all accept Smicha from us, and will you commit to deepening and growing? Yes. And how about the rest of you? Shall we ordain these gifted people who have chosen divine service? Marcia, the response should make you proud. Keep the faith, walk courageously in the service of godliness, remember who you are, remember your name. To receive your smicha, we will call each of you by name.
Can there be any doubt but that it is time? It is my profound and weepy honor to call each of our musmachimot by name. I call Lee Copeland. Please come and give us your Hebrew name.
Leah, Dina, Bachaya Rosa, Bashmuel.
Would please the Vod and all of Lee's special invited guests come up to the bima and assemble behind her.
B'Shem Yah Elohei Yisrael. U'L'Shem Yichud Kudshabrichu U'Shchinta. Al Dat HaMakom. Ve'al Dat Kehilatenu. Hinenu Musmichim Otach. לכהן כמלבבה רוחנית בישראל. ללמוד וללמד תורה לעם אדוני. לתומכם ולייצם בדרכי התורה והשלום. לנחמם באבלם, בשמחתם. ויהי ליבך כליבנו, פיך כפינו, ברכתך כברכתנו. ויהי רצון שאדוני יתברך ישלם שכרך בבריות גופה ונהורה מעליה. לכן סמוכה את לנו ומלווה רוחנית בישראל תתקרי. In the name of Yah, the God of Israel. And for the sake of the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He, and the Shekhinah.
And for the sake of the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He and Shekhinah.
With the consent of God and the consent of our community. Herewith we ordain you to serve as a spiritual companion. To study and teach Torah to God's people. To support and counsel them in the ways of Torah and peace. To console them in their bereavements and to rejoice with them in their joyous occasions. Thus, may your heart be in harmony with ours. Your word be in harmony with our word. Your blessing be as potent as our blessings.
Your blessing be as potent as our blessings.
May it be God's will that you be blessed with great success. And that God reward you with robust health of body and enlightened spirit.
And that God reward you with robust health of body and enlightened spirit.
And so we ordain you. And call you rabbinic pastor and spiritual companion in Yisrael.
And call you rabbinic pastor and spiritual companion in Israel.
In our next miraculous feat, we will all descend from the bima so that I may invite our Erev of the moment rabbis. Don't go too far. You ready?
Yes.
Emily Stern.
Charutza Emuna bat Hersht V'Chana.
Moshe King.
Moshe Aaron ben Yosef Eleah.
Paige Linsenberg.
Chama Freda bat Yatha v'Simcha HaKohen.
Lisa Rappaport.
Elishava bat Avraham v'Sarah.
Jericho Vincent.
Yericho Mebes Yosef Bedina.
Rami Avraham Efal.
אברהם בן זהבה זיכרונה לברכה ובנימין מיכאל.
Andrea Kuti.
Chana Dvorah Shulamit Bat Yosef Umalka.
Gabrielle Pescador.
Gabriela Yardena bat Yisrael Mordechai Vebela.
Rachel Goldberg.
רייצ'ל חווה דורית, בת אברהם וטובה.
And I invite our VOD and special invited guests back up to the bima. No, they're in the right order. Yeah.
Sort of here, just if you could let me in a little bit. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, was, will be, is. Musmachimot, we got your back. As we look ahead to a shared future, standing here right now, Nochach Pnei Hashem, in the divine presence. L'shem yichud, kuchabrichu shrinta, al da'at hamakom, ועל דעת קהילתנו. אנו מסמיכים אתכם לכהן כרבנים בישראל, להורות תורה לרבים ברבים, ולברר דין אמת לתיקון השכינה. כשם שמינו אותנו, המסמיכים שלנו, כן ממנים אנחנו אתכם להיות שליחים לעם ישראל, למסור להם את דבר השם הבא אלינו בזמן הזה. ותהי ידכם כידינו, ועשייתכם כעשייתנו, ופיכם כפינו, ודיבורכם כדיבורנו, ומעשה בית דינכם כמעשה בית דיננו, וברכתכם כברכתנו. לכן, סמוכים אתם לנו, ורבי תתקראו, להורות תורה לרבים, כדת משה, מרים וישראל. In the name of Yah, the God of Israel. And for the sake of the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He. And the Shekhinah. With the consent of God. And the consent of our community. Herewith, we ordain you to officiate as rabbis in Israel, to publicly teach Torah, and to clarify and pronounce truth in ways that make a tikkun for the Shekhinah. We hereby appoint you as our delegates and emissaries, just as those who appointed us delegated us and sent us to be rabbis. And thus you are now ordained. There's more. Yeah. Emissaries, right? As rabbis and leaders, may your hands be like ours. Your decree like our decrees. Your rabbinic acts valid like ours. Your adjudication like our adjudication. Your blessings like our blessings. And so we ordain you and call you rabbi to teach Torah publicly according to the path set out by Moshe, Miriam, and the people Yisrael. Now, Amen. Mazal tov, mazal tov, mazal tov.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
In a few moments, as we clear the bima of all but our newly minted renewal clergy, our musmachimot will confer their first official public blessing from the ancient words of Torah. I'm going to step down. This ain't about me. Adonai